Part of what I wanted to say, I couldn't deliver. I didn't know anyway.
Such a bittersweet taste, such a perfect waste. Oh, hiding in the back of my conscious state.
Hello, I'm Sophia Jessica, and welcome to the Fan Carpet.
Good. Yeah, thank you. First of all, thank you for taking the time out to do this interview, mate. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's interesting times, but it's a great time to release a film. Not.
Well, no, it's a good. It's online, isn't it? It's on VOD and online now, isn't it? So.
Yeah, I mean, you'd hope that the whole sort of digital side of things will be the upside of the lockdown. But we've had to cancel the theatrical, which is a bit disappointing.
Yes.
And I don't really know what's happening with the DVD yet, because it's in for supermarkets, but it's whether or not it's considered to be essential goods. That the supermarkets will stock. Well, I'll find out in the next few days. Oops.
Yeah, absolutely, mate.
Yeah.
No, I understand, mate. So no, because it's getting released here in the UK on May 4th. I saw it. I've seen it twice now. I actually saw it at Fright Fest a while back, and it's definitely a film that people should really see on the big screen. But how have you been coping in this current climate at the moment? What have you been doing to keep yourself entertained, or how have you been dealing with it?
I have a second career really as a sales agent, a film sales agent, and that really does keep me busy. So usually, like anything, I just have so much work to do that I don't really get much of an opportunity to think about it or worry about it. I've started exercising again, which I needed to do, and that's a good thing. I'm spending more time with my kids. I'm not hiding in the office. So it's actually, there have been quite a few positives.
Yeah, definitely. I do see some positive things as well, because people always complain about about not having the time to do this, not having the time to do that, and now there's no real excuses really. Basically there's you got all the time in the world now. You pretty much, people are having 2 months off to just pursue certain dreams, certain careers. You got people out there writing books. Some people even making movies indoors as well.
Yeah, I did think that, if I was, sort of looking for a film to make, and we were looking at a really long lockdown, I would think, well, then the only thing you could really do is do sort of an unfriended, to do a film on social network and just sort of cast it online and sort of have the film as the Zoom screen with lots of different characters. I was very apprehensive about Unfriended before I saw it, and then I saw it on the big screen in a film festival, and it really did impress me. So it's amazing what you can do when you have limited resources, and it's sort of what I did with Last Horror Movie in a way. So yeah, I mean, it's no excuse not to do something that can actually work.
Yeah, that did work. The ending, the last 5 seconds of that movie creeped me out really much. Did you see the second Unfriended as well?
No, I didn't see it.
Really good. Really, it's different, completely different. It's completely different from the first one. It's about the dark web. I've watched it quite a few times now. I was very impressed with it, because it is an exposure on the dark web and how dark it gets, and just shows you just how creepy and scary human beings really can be. But that's all I'll say about it.
Yeah.
But it's on Now TV, I think. Last time I checked. So brilliant film. But speaking of brilliant films, let's talk a little bit about Reborn, which you directed. When you were researching Reborn, or when you were planning Reborn, did you do any comic book or graphic novel research, as this is about a woman with telekinetic abilities?
Yeah, well, my reference points were not comic book or graphic novel. They were, 70s and 80s paranormal horror films like Carrie, Fury, Scanners, Firestarter. That was really what I was thinking about more than anything else. And the script was brought to me. I was like a director for hire on this one. But what really engaged me about the project from the get-go was the dramatic ingredients of the script, which was essentially the mother-daughter relationship. This is the story of a daughter trying to find her mother and a mother trying to find her daughter. And actually, that was one of the decisions I had to make: is what story was it? Was it the daughter's story, or was it the mother's story? And in the draft of the script that I initially read, it could have been either. In fact, the mother's story didn't kick in until halfway through that script, and I actually sort of made a decision. I sort of did a bit of a rewrite on it. Not a great deal, but enough to sort of change the structure and to make a decision on who the protagonist was. And the protagonist for me was the mother. She was the one with the obstacles to overcome. She had the end goal to achieve. As far as Tess was concerned, although she obviously had her agenda too, she's the monster of the story, and was better played more of a mystery, that's the way I decided to take it.
Yeah, that's good. I do like it. Is definitely about the mother and the daughter as well. I do like the mother-daughter aspect of the movie. That it isn't just about a woman with a young girl with these abilities and all the scary things she can do. It is about a mother and daughter trying to find one another, which is what I personally liked about the film as well. I do like my comic book movies, and I do like some supervillain movies, origin movies, because you see what made them so bad and what made them do the things that they do. So yeah, but I do like the mother-daughter aspect of it too. It does push the villain in a way as well. How was the search conducted for the role of Tess Stern? Because I heard there was a huge search to find an actress to play this character. What was the process in finding someone to play Tess Stern?
Yeah, well, Tess is in the story. She's 16 years old, so immediately you're limited to who you can cast, because there are very few sort of 16-year-old girls that have a big track record. Essentially, you basically have to discover somebody. And often when I've done that in the past, you do the rounds of drama classes at schools, or you. There are sort of certain agents that specialize in casting younger people, and my casting director in Reborn, she sort of did all of that and put together about 10 actresses for me to look at when I arrived in LA to shoot the film. And out of those 10, there were 2 that stood out. And both of them were extremely good, and obviously Kayleigh Gilbert was one of them, but she wasn't initially my first choice. I was going really for something, something a little bit more realistic or naturalistic. Although I could see that Kayleigh was a brilliant actress, she was very unusual looking. She's quite extraordinary in her appearance, and I thought that would be a little bit too on the nose for something that the tone was going to be sort of real or naturalistic. The other actress was more girl next door, that was really the sort of the direction I thought of taking it in. But it wasn't an easy decision. I was sort of on the fence. I was torn about which way to go because Kayleigh was so strong in her audition. And when I'm in that position, what I often do is I check, I make sure that I'm making the right decision. And everybody that I asked just went for Kayleigh. And I thought, oh, well, maybe I'm making the wrong decision here. Plus, the other actress that I was looking at was sort of American Asian, which immediately meant that I would be locked into casting, an Asian-looking actress to play Lena as well. So that created its own set of problems. And eventually, I sort of listened to my collaborators and went for Kayleigh. And it worked out in ways that I didn't expect, actually. There were things that evolved with Kayleigh as the filming went on that I just thought, wow, this is working in a way that I didn't necessarily intend, but it's definitely the right decision that we made.
Oh, fantastic. Yes, great. Just before we get to the next question, would you be able to move just a little to your left, just so we can get you in the full? Yeah, perfect. Yeah, that's that's perfect. Yeah, it's just you were we can see 3/4 of your face, and it was kind of like, just so you're the center, so so everyone can see you. Everyone can see your pretty face. Yes. So if there is and do you have to overcome any interesting challenges when you were making this movie besides the casting? Because I know Barbara Crampton got casted at the very last minute, but were there any other challenges that you had to overcome when making this movie?
Well, the main challenge really was this was always going to be what the Americans call a ULB, an ultra low budget film. It was basically financed off the producer's credit cards. And they planned to shoot it in 12 days with a student crew, where the heads of department were maybe sort of not students, more experienced, and maybe some of them were teachers. I mean, the mentor of the project, production-wise, was a teacher at LA Film School. So we were using LA Film School as a location for the hospital, for the police station, for the agent's office, for the shrink's office. So we shot half the film in a tower block on Sunset Boulevard, and because it was a film school, it had equipment, it had lights, cameras, it had students who could be the crew, it had teachers who could be the heads of department. But when you're going into a feature film that has to compete in the feature film market, it had to be more than that. Really that was the biggest challenge for me, to come in there and say, okay, this is a good idea to do it this way. However, it has to be better than that. It can't be like a student film. Sort of a Rumpelstiltskin production. I had to somehow weave gold out of straw. So I managed to get some interesting heads of department in. I got a director of photography, Brian Sowell, who was the DOP on Sequence Break, which is a film that I represent as a sales agent. And that's how I knew Brian. And he brought in the production designer, who was also on Sequence Break. Then I sort of brought my team in from the UK, Mark Talbot Butler, who did the editing, and Simon Lambros, who did the music. So all the key members of the crew were pretty seasoned at the end of the day, but we managed to get them on very good deals. And then the rest of the crew were students. So it was a tall order, and I said there's no way we can shoot a film like this in 12 days, even though the majority of the film was shot in the tower block. We had lots of other locations, and when you're on a tight schedule like that, it's you can't waste time moving from one location to another. you have to limit the amount of moves. So essentially, we were able to break a 15-day shoot into, like, first 5 days was Tower Block, second 5 days was Ken Stern's house and hospital, and last 5 days was Lena O'Neill's house. So there were essentially only really 3, maybe 4 moves throughout the whole shoot, and that's how we managed to do it. But we didn't shoot it in 12 days; we shot it in 15 days. And actually, when we initially started shooting, we had a different actress for the part of Lena O'Neill. And after 5 days, we were closed down by the LA fires. We were shooting in December, and the fires closed us down for 3 days. And that was a godsend in a way, because it gave me time to stop and think. I wasn't happy with the way that the shoot was going for the first 5 days, but I didn't have time to really address the issue, because the momentum of the shoot was just so pressurized. That when we were forced to stop shooting by the LA fires, I just thought that that I could finish this film with the actress that we've got, but it's not going to work. It's not going to sell. So we had to make a very difficult decision to basically replace the actress and reshoot the first 5 days. And because I'm sales agent on Replace and on Beyond the Gates, I knew Barbara Crampton through those 2 films, and I made sure that before I made that decision, I made sure that she was interested and be available to basically drive down from San Francisco in 2 days from the point that I sent her the script to start shooting. And she was, and that enabled me to make the decision. Really tough decision. But Barbara came to the rescue, and from that point on, it was plain sailing.
Yeah, fantastic. You talk a lot about being a sales agent. What does that entail, if you don't mind me asking? Because it sounds familiar to something a friend of mine does, but I'm just curious to know what you do as a sales agent for all these incredible movies.
It's like being an estate agent for property. It's film is property. It's intellectual property. So what I do is I represent the producers of the film, and I sell the film to distributors worldwide. So I go to all the key markets like Cannes, Berlin, AFM, Film Art in Hong Kong as well. And I meet with distributors from every single country, and I find a buyer for the film in each of the markets in the world. And that's something that I moved into about 12 years ago. I've been directing films for almost 30 years now. I've done 9 feature films, but it's very hard and increasingly hard to pay the bills with what you earn from directing. There's often a gap of 3, 4, sometimes 5 years between one film and the next. So what do you do for your income? As I was making films, I was learning the business of film too. And I was also getting frustrated with what was happening with my films in sales and distribution. So when I made Last Horror Movie, I put a lot of my own money into that film, and I needed to make sure I got it back. And therefore, I decided to sell it myself, and it snowballed. And from that point on, I've had a rare career of being able to sort of sell films on one side of things and direct films on the other. And it's good, it's good on the one hand that I don't need to worry too much about money now. But what I do worry about is time, time and energy, because selling is non-stop. It's 24/7. And it's difficult to actually find time to sit down, be creative, and build momentum on a project from scratch, which is often what it takes, to actually get a film into production. You've got to focus on it for 2 or 3 years before it actually happens. Yeah, I mean, that's a necessary sort of development in my career. But I'm glad I made that decision.
Fantastic. So it sounds interesting. I know a few friends who kind of do it, and I'm like, oh, what does it entail? And especially when you're representing awesome movies like Replace and especially Beyond the Gates. I saw it at Fright Fest a couple of years ago. I loved it. Is there a wish list of people who you would like to work with in your career still? Is there a couple of people who you would love the opportunity to work with?
Well, with the film I did prior to Reborn, I did a film called Daddy's Girl, which I literally did 2 months before I did Reborn, and there I got to work with Costas Mandylor and Gemma Calendar, and that was quite an experience. Really enjoyed working with Costas, and then a couple of years before that, I did my first US feature film, Shiver, where I was working with John Jarrett and with Casper Van Dien, and also with Ray Dawn Chong for the first time. The last sort of 3 films I've done have had quite an interesting cast, and some of them I've brought back. It was fun to work with Ray Dawn Chong a second time because I was such a fan of hers, in my teens, and it was kind of an amusing experience to find myself on set with her directing her, But in terms of actors that I would like to work with, actors I really like, Christopher Walken, David Thewlis, kind of. I need IMDb often to sort of remember names. Those are two actors that immediately sort of spring to mind as actors that I really admired. I mean, I think David Thewlis's performance in Naked, for example, is one of the most amazing performances. You haven't really seen him do the equivalent since. I mean, he's got into directing now. So, it's there are always the odd actor. What's the guy that played Patrick Bateman? I should know his name.
Christian Bale.
Yes, I'd like to work with Christian Bale. Anthony Hopkins. I almost worked with Anthony Hopkins on my first film, Darklands.
Nice.
And in the end, it sort of didn't work out. But yeah, I mean, those are the kind of actors I'd like to work with.
Yeah, you should check out Anthony Hopkins' recent video diaries in quarantine. He's messing around with a cat and listening to heavy metal. Apparently, he really likes heavy metal and messing around playing with his cat all the time. Apparently. According to so speaking of and this is a little bit related to our current situation with the popularity of Netflix and Disney Plus at the moment, where do you see the future of cinema going with the success currently of Disney Plus and Netflix and at least on-demand services?
Yeah, it's a curious one, isn't it? I mean, the whole subscription video on demand thing has completely disrupted the industry as we know it, and it shifted the balance of power away from what it used to be, and now it's something else which is hard to quantify. And it was very much a monopoly for a while, and now that you have new platforms, new SVOD platforms coming in, hopefully that'll sort of break the monopoly and create sort of a more healthy environment where there's like a bidding war going on between streamers. But if you can get a Netflix deal, it's fantastic, but most films can't. So it's disastrous for small independent films, and it's also a little conservative because what SVOD is like broadcast in a way. So it doesn't quite have the same, especially when they're making their own content. Doesn't really have the same edge that you get from the indie sector. I've seen, it seems the way they make decisions by this algorithm thing, is you often see, a sort of a post-apocalyptic survival theme kicking in, and the next thing you know is there's seven series or programs or films, all created by Netflix, that are all about the same thing. So it's very repetitive as well. So I don't think I've ever watched a film on Netflix, actually. I'm sort of a bit of a film snob. I don't watch TV. TV is not my thing. And Netflix is television. So that's sort of
pretty much, pretty well of it.
My view on it. That said, I grew up watching horror double bills on the BBC. So me too. So it can work. It does work, but I don't know. I find Shudder a little bit more interesting. It's more curated. I have no idea what the curation of Netflix is.
Yeah, Shudder. It is like a horror Netflix, because they do give you some gems, some classic 70s horror gems. For the Hammer people especially, they are throwing that back, and they've got Creepshow as well. They brought back Creepshow on that as well. Netflix. One movie I'd recommend. I keep recommending to people on Netflix. Oh my god, The Babysitter. The Babysitter. It's a horror comedy directed by Mick G. And it's about a hot babysitter looking after a young guy. Only the babysitter is satanic, and he's got a group of friends who are Satanists. But again, that's all I'm going to say about it, because it's really funny. It's a Netflix original movie. Apparently, and it's really good soundtrack as well. If you like old school music, old rock music from the 80s. So that's my recommendation for Netflix movies. I think Netflix is pretty cool. It has its moments, definitely, but I'm more of a cinema guy. I'd rather watch a lot of stuff I watch on Netflix. I'm like, oh man, why can't I watch that on the big screen?
Yeah.
So featuring Samara Weaving. So phenomenal actress. One last question: is there a book you have read that you would like to see made into a movie or a TV show?
I mean, I'm a big fan of James Herbert, and would really love to see, The Fog, and even The Rats, done with a budget. There is another book that I read a few years back, which is a sort of a post-apocalyptic story called Blood Crazy.
Oh, okay, Blood Crazy,
which is a really phenomenal book. I'd recommend having a read of that. It's basically an evolutionary shift where the adults just spontaneously start to kill their children, the point of view of the story is from a bunch of kids that have survived the onslaught of their parents and are now trying to work out how to survive in this new world that's been created as a result. And it's quite biblical, actually, but it's a phenomenal story. I'd love to make it into a film.
Sweet. That kind of reminds me a little bit of the Twilight Zone, because what in this story. Does the world start out like normal and then this happens, or has it always been the way this world has always been?
It starts out normal. It's a kid walking home from school and arriving in his house to find his father murdering his younger brother, and he has to throw himself out of a bedroom window to escape. Steals steals his father's car and picks up the local girl who's managed to escape from her parents and drive off into the wilderness. And so it's sort of a road movie of sorts, but it's 28 days later, but with adults killing children.
Yeah, that's great because it reminds me of because I've always liked the Twilight Zone. The 80s, 90s Twilight Zone, because most of them start out like regular days, and then all of a sudden, like that, you're brought into this mad world with all these mad rules, and so yeah, I like those films that have a Twilight Zone-y vibe where it's a normal regular day, and then bang, before you know it, you're dropped into this crazy world where everyone else is treating it like normal, but you're the only one who can see who's WTFing about what the hell's going on. And then it's amazing when they do stories like that. And some Twilight Zone films are beautiful as well, but most of them are scary as hell. So yeah. But anyways, Reborn is out May 4th on VOD, and hopefully we will get a DVD and Blu-ray copies for people to own for themselves, to get them signed by Barbara Crampton and such, and as yourself at a film festival when we do get to go back to film festivals, because Cannes has been moved to June instead of May now. Hopefully,
yeah, it's only going to be digital though. The idea of a physical festival is gone. They're talking about Venice maybe happening, but I don't think so. I don't think there's going to be any physical festivals until maybe Toronto, but even then probably not. I think 2020 is off actually.
No, they cancelled Comic-Con itself till 2021, and I was hoping to go back to Fright Fest in August, but well, I don't know, man. We'll see what happens. Anyways, Jullian, thank you for taking the time out to speak to us today. Best of luck with not only Reborn, but wherever else you have. What is next for you? What is next for you, as a matter of fact?
What is next for me? It's possibly the English language remake of Rabies, which I'm currently working with the Israeli producers. And then I have a couple of scripts in the pipeline, but because I'm actually selling Reborn as well as having directed it, I have to I have to deliver. I have to make sure that the producer can pay off her credit card debt before I can think about what to direct next. So we're close to selling every territory now. I think I've just sold Latin America and Southeast Asia, which were the two big territories that were straggling. So I think after the UK release, and there's going to be a DVD and Blu-ray release in the US in July, I think then I'll be able to think about the next film.
Oh, fantastic. Well, like I say, let's hope we can get Reborn out there, because it is a really cool film. I really enjoyed watching it, not just for the sci-fi aspect, but for the mother-daughter aspect too, obviously. So, man, best of luck with everything you're doing, man, and thank you for taking the time to speak to us today, mate.
Yep, thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Thank you for watching The Fan Carpet. Please follow us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram for more content next time.
You're not going to leave me again, are you?
You're not my daughter. Don't say that.
No, you're not.
You did this to me! You did this!
I'm here on the largest of the Balearic Islands, Mallorca, with the turquoise waters of the Mediterranean Sea, beautiful mountainous landscape, the thriving city of Palma, quaint little market towns, a growing number of luxury hotels. It's no surprise that the likes of Audrey Hepburn and Elizabeth Taylor like to holiday here. So come and join me as I take you round Mallorca.
Thank you for watching The Fan Carpet. If you like this video, be sure to click that thumbs up button at the bottom of your screen. And also be sure to subscribe to the Fan Carpet YouTube channels. They're absolutely free and so much fun too. Be sure to check out the official website, thefancarpet.com. Also, you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to stay up to date with reviews, competitions, the latest news, and so much more.